Good morning, my princess. Lily, your 10-month-old daughter thrashed her limbs hearing Jungkook. You were on a video call with him as he was out of town for a business trip. Lily, calm down. You had a hard time controlling her as she let out happy giggles and tried to grab your phone. Jungkook chuckled, happy to see his daughter being all energetic and excited. You let out a sigh of defeat as she succeeded in getting her hands on your phone. She squealed in happiness and kissed Jungkook through the screen. Pa loves you a lot, my princess. He blew a kiss at her, eliciting a series of happy giggles from her. Your lips twisted into a wide smile as you witnessed the sweet interaction between them. Please pass this phone to your ma. Lily immediately obliged to his request and handed you the phone. You shook your head in disbelief. The little girl was an angel to her father but a Satan to you. She would obey Jungkook's order like an obedient child but give you a hard time. Good morning, sweetheart. He greeted you with a sweet smile as soon as you held the phone in front of your face. Morning, gentlemen. All ready for the meeting? He nodded, putting his phone down. He took 2 steps back and twirled around, giving you a once-over of his outfit. Looking handsome, as always, you blew a kiss at him. He smiled bashfully and again came closer to the camera. As you were talking to him, Lily was busy playing with your pendant. We are missing you so much, you murmured with a small smile. It was after a very long time that he went on a business trip. He avoided any work trip after you found out about your pregnancy. I too am missing you both. Just 2 more days and I'll be back. He replied with a sad smile. He was as distressed as you by being away, but it was something he couldn't avoid for a long time. He stared at you silently, however, his expression shifted as he observed you closely. Sweetheart, are you okay? You look pale, he asked all of a sudden, catching you off guard. You gulped and hesitantly nodded. I'm okay, just a little tired. Our daughter is growing up and she is being a handful lately. I'm still trying to match her energy level. Well, it wasn't a lie, but it wasn't the complete truth either. It was difficult for you to handle Lily as she had become more active. One moment of distraction and she would crawl miles away. However, your health was taking a toll on you, both physically and mentally. You were sick for the last 3 days and you were hiding it from Jungkook. You knew he would get worried and immediately rush home. You didn't want him to skip his work because of you. Indeed, she is becoming naughty day by day. He chuckled, looking at Lily, who was trying to reach the phone again. After all, she took after her mother in mischief. You gasped in disbelief and squinted your eyes at him. You did not just say that, Mr. John. He grinned teasingly and winked at you. I need to head out for the meeting. I'll talk to you later. Love you, my ladies. He blew a kiss at you both and disconnected the call. By that time, Lily had successfully gotten her hands on the phone. She called out, tapping the screen again and again. She pouted in sadness when all she got was a blank screen. Her pa was no longer there. She looked at you and pointed at the screen. Your eyes softened, seeing her glossy eyes. You made her sit on your lap and hugged her tightly, yet gently. Baby Pa is at work, but he'll be back soon, okay? He'll bring you a lot of gifts. You mumbled and let out an exhausted sigh as she nuzzled against your chest. You lay back on the bed, having no strength to get up. You had been taking medicines, but your condition was only worsening. You were feeling feverish, dizzy, and weak, and you had to manage everything alone. There was no one to take care of you. Though Jungkook asked you to hire a nanny, you were adamant not to let a stranger step inside your house. Your motherly heart refused to trust anyone with your child. You believed you could handle everything alone, and you were doing so until you fell ill. A few moments later, Lily rolled on the bed and sat upright. She whined and pulled your shirt, insinuating she was hungry. Yeah, little one, I'll give you food. Your body ached and screamed for you to keep lying there. However, you managed to get off the bed and pick up Lily in your arms. Let's freshen up here. I'll feed your little tummy afterwards. Coming, you mumbled and rushed to your daughter. She was sitting on her high chair and banging on the table due to hunger. She tended to get cranky when she was hungry. Open your mouth, little one. She eagerly opened her mouth and you fed her the mashed fruits and boiled veggies. Fortunately, she ate it all without throwing a tantrum, much to your relief. After feeding her, you put her down and opened the backyard door to let the natural light cast a warm glow across the kitchen. Lily got busy playing with her toys and you took the opportunity to have breakfast. After having breakfast, you somehow managed to clean the kitchen and wash the dishes. The whole time, Lily was following you, sometimes showing you her toys, sometimes blabbering absolute gibberish, and sometimes just clinging to your leg. You picked her up and peppered kisses all over her face. She let out sweet giggles. Shall we play in the living room? You tickled her belly as eliciting a contagious laughter from her. You put her down on her playmat and put all of her toys around her. It didn't take her long to get lost in her own toy world. As she played all by herself, you skid towards the couch, barely managing to walk. You collapsed on the couch, your body giving out under the pressure. You watched your daughter play, entertaining herself with the tons of toys Jungkook bought for her. She kept looking at you occasionally, giggling and laughing to herself. After some time, she got bored and crawled towards you. You blinked your eyes in confusion as she grabbed her blanket and went back to her previous place. You pivoted your focus on her, knowing she was definitely up to something. You watched as she covered her head with a blanket and played peekaboo with her dolls. A chuckle escaped your lips due to her adorable tactics. The next moment, she was coloring her doll's face with her crayons. Your eyes were dropping due to tiredness. Still, you were trying your best to stay awake to keep an eye on Lily. However, your strength failed you. Despite your efforts to not give in to your sickness, you slipped into a restless sleep. Lily was least bothered by her surroundings as she kept herself engaged in her toy world. But her attention span was very little. She easily got bored of all the games and looked at you. She called out to gain your attention. Your unresponsiveness made her pout in sadness. She crawled towards you and stood up by taking the support of the couch. She called out continuously, tapping your face with her palms. But you were completely out, lost in your favorite dreams, too weak to hear her calls. No response from your side made her feel ignored and dejected. She slumped on the floor, staring at your face for a while. She looked around, finding something to entertain herself. Her eyes sparkled with mischief when they landed on the open door in the kitchen, which opened into the backyard. She sprinted towards the door with the speed of light. The blanket tangled in her legs, slid behind her. The blanket was left behind in the kitchen and Lily went out through the backyard door. Meanwhile, you were in deep sleep, unaware of the things happening around you or the storm that awaited ahead. Hours later, you woke up with a start. You blinked your eyes, sobering up from the drowsiness. Your body was still aching, head throbbed with pain. You glanced at the wall clock, which struck almost 3 in the noon. You jolted up as realization dawned upon you. You had been passed out for hours. As you sobered up completely, you noticed Lily wasn't present there. Panic seized in as you called out for her. Lily, sweetie, you called out. Your voice was still groggy from the nap. Your heartbeat accelerated when you got no response. The house was eerily silent. Lily, you whispered to yourself and rose from the couch to look for her. Your head spun, but you ignored it completely. Your daughter was your priority at that moment. Stumbling through the rooms, you checked every corner, but Lily was nowhere to be found. It was as though she disappeared in thin air. Your pulse quickened, your breath shallow. Lily, my baby, you mumbled to yourself, breathing heavily. Your knees gave up due to fear, but you just couldn't give up. You needed to find your daughter. You strode towards the kitchen. Your heart thumped against your chest as you saw Lily's blanket on the kitchen floor. You held your head in frustration when you noticed that the backyard door was left ajar. You forgot to close it. How can you be so irresponsible, Ryan? You rebuked yourself, running a reckless hand through your hair. She must have gone outside. Desperate, you went out to check the backyard. You looked into the streets outside and called out her name multiple times. Even asked the neighbors if anyone had seen her, but was disappointed in return. There was no sign of her. She had gone missing. In that moment, terror gripped you like never before. Lily was missing, and you had no idea where your daughter could be. Your mind raced through the possibilities, and fear paralyzed you. You felt the weight of your illness pulling you down, but you had no time to give in to your own pain. You had to find Lily. My baby, you whispered to yourself and slumped down on the couch. You were trembling with fear. If something happened to Lily, you wouldn't be able to survive. With trembling hands, you reached out for your phone and dialed Jungkook's number. He answered after 2 rings. His voice was calm as he spoke. Hey, sweetheart. However, his calm shattered the moment he heard your frantic voice. Jungkook, I can't find Lily. You stammered, your words spilling out in panic. What are you saying? He sounded serious this time. Tears pricked your eyes. You twisted your hands on your sides, gathering your leftover courage to tell him everything. She's gone. I fell asleep and you found it difficult to speak at that moment. Panic seeped deep into your bones. The mere thought of something bad happening to your daughter sent chills down your spine. What do you mean she's gone? His voice was sharp, panic rising on the other end of the line. You closed your eyes, bracing yourself for his outburst. I didn't mean to. How could you let this happen, Ryan? Where were you? He cut you off by his harsh tone, fear evident in his voice. You couldn't respond. You felt a lump in your throat, tears stinging your eyes as the weight of his accusations pressed down on you. You had hidden your illness from him, pretending everything was fine, and now you felt the consequences crashing down. Jungkook had no idea what you had been going through, and you couldn't bring yourself to tell him. Not like this. Not when Lily was missing. I am sorry, you whispered, your voice breaking into soft cries. I am so sorry. I didn't mean for this to happen. But Jungkook wasn't hearing any of it. He was angry and terrified. Sorry? Seriously, Ryan, how can you be so irresponsible? Why did you let her out of the sight? She's just a little girl. His anger poured through the phone. He had no idea that you had been sick, too weak to even stay awake. And how could you tell him now? There was no time to explain, no time to defend yourself. All that mattered was finding Lily. I'm sorry. Please come back. I need my daughter back. Exhausted and ill, you barely keep yourself sitting and lay down on the couch. You heard a rustling sound from the other line before the call disconnected. Jungkook immediately cut his trip short, driving back home. Since he was in the neighboring city, it was an hour-long drive back home. In the meantime, he coordinated with the local authorities to search for Lily. When Jungkook arrived, his frustration was palpable. He didn't even spare you a glance. Jungkook, he walked past you and directly went upstairs to search for Lily. You watched him from a distance, guilt gnawing at you. You wanted to explain, to tell him everything, but your shame held you back. How could you confess that you had been too sick to watch over your daughter? How could you admit that you had been hiding your sickness all the time? A few minutes later, he came downstairs and rushed over the door, but you called out for him. Jungkook, where are you going? He stopped in his tracks, his back facing you, to look for her in the nearby playground. He replied in a monotonous tone. His distressed attitude hurt you, but you gulped everything and rose from the couch. I'll go with you. He paused for a moment and walked outside without saying anything. He stood at a distance, watching Jungkook rushing from person to person, asking if someone had seen Lily. You were searching along with him, but with time, your condition worsened. You grew pale, your limbs trembling with weakness. Your head spun badly. You looked around for a spot to sit, stumbled towards a nearby bench. Jungkook, still shimmering with anger, finally noticed your unsteady movements. For the first time since arriving, he looked at you closely. He rushed to you as he saw you almost losing your balance. Fell on the bench. Jungkook knelt in front of you. Sweetheart, what's wrong? His voice softened slightly. He cupped your cheek and a frown formed on his forehead when he found you burning hot. You are having a fever. Why didn't you tell me? He cradled your face between his palms, his eyes filled with concern. You hesitated, swallowing the lump in your throat. I've been sick, Jungkook. I didn't want to worry you, but I'm not well. Jungkook stared at you, the realization dawning on him. His anger began to ebb away, replaced by guilt and confusion. He hadn't known. He had been so focused on finding Lily that he had turned a blind eye to what was happening right in front of him. Why did you tell me? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Tears trickled down your cheeks. The weight of the situation was getting too heavy to bear, and you just wanted to melt in his arms. I didn't want to burden you, you replied, your voice shaking as you struggled to speak coherently. You had work, and I thought I could manage it, but I couldn't. I'm sorry. Jungkook embraced you as you broke into soft cries. Please don't cry. He pressed a few kisses on your head as you wept in his arms. The silence between you both was heavy, filled with unspoken words and regrets. Jungkook didn't know what to say. He had been so quick to blame you, not realizing the toll your illness had taken on you. I am so sorry. I shouldn't have yelled at you. I didn't mean anything I said. I got into panic mode and blabbered absolute nonsense. I'm so sorry. You nodded, too tired to speak. You couldn't blame him though. You would have reacted the same way if you were at his place. Let's go home. You need rest. But Lily, we need to find her. You looked at him with your teary eyes. I'll look for her. You need rest. He helped you in standing up and escorted you towards the car. You noticed his red eyes. He was trying his best to not break down in front of you. Jungkook, we will find her, you whispered with determination. He looked at you and gave you a small smile. We will. You were lying on the bed, Jungkook sitting beside you. The doctor was checking on you. You and Jungkook both were restless, worried for your daughter, but your treatment was necessary too. Jungkook was more restless. He was in a dilemma. He needed to look for his daughter, but he couldn't leave you like this when you were sick. Though he had contacted the authorities, he himself wanted to search for Lily. The doctor left after prescribing some medicines. You rest here, I'll make something for you to eat. As he tried to get up, you held his wrist. Jungkook, Lily. Jungkook sat back in his previous spot. He kissed your head. I have hired a team to look for her, Ryan. We'll find our daughter, don't worry. Mr. John. They were startled by the sudden shout. A voice called out from down the street. Jungkook got up and slid the window open. It was his neighbor calling him. Yes, Mr. Lee. Mr. John, your daughter is in my backyard. Jungkook's heart bloomed with happiness and relief. He turned back to look at you. When, Lily, you nodded with glossy eyes and immediately rose from the bed. Come on, let's bring her back. You rushed out, followed by Jungkook. You forgot about the illness the moment you heard your daughter was found. As you stepped inside Mr. Lee's backyard, you saw your daughter sleeping on his dog. She had her tiny palms clutched around his brown fur as she slept above him. She seemed to be in a deep sleep. You couldn't hold yourself back. You rushed forward and carefully took her in your arms. Holding her close, you felt a mix of overwhelming relief and exhaustion. You scared me, Lily. How did you find her, Mr. Lee? We have been looking for her for hours. I just returned from work and I came here to take James on a walk, but I saw them sleeping together. This is the footage. Jungkook watched the camera footage which showed that Lily came into his backyard by the small common entryway. She played with the dog James for hours and then fell asleep above him. Seems like your daughter had fun so far. Jungkook looked at him and nodded with a smile. Indeed. Let's go home, sweetheart. You need rest. He took Lily in his arms as she snuggled into his chest. He pressed a kiss on her forehead. Little Level, you took away our life today. He held Lily in one arm and wrapped his other arm around your shoulder. He thanked Mr. Lee and escorted you towards your house. Though the day had been terrifying, it was a relief that Lily was found, safe and sound.